That's really cool. I love your kind of paradoxical approach to it, and saying it's actually not a frugal, but it's an abundant. It's the opposite mindset.
Yeah.
Just touching on managing a personal budget, how would you say that is a no-brainer for anyone that tries to, like, a lot of people, they don't like that meticulous tracking all of their costs and tracking in a spreadsheet or whatnot. I know that's a discipline I started. Someone that I was actually asking some advice to start investing and whatnot, they said the first thing when it comes to personal finances is open a spreadsheet and track every expense. Yeah. So, like, two questions to touch on that is it fundamental, number one, and number two, how evident is it when looking at your personal budget in a Excel spreadsheet, wherever you do it, an app or whatnot, over a 6-month period, how evidential is it of your money personality by having a look at where your money's been going?
Yeah.
So those two things on keeping a budget, personal budget.
So absolutely, it is fundamental. You have to know where your money is going. But again, it doesn't have to come from this scarcity mindset of being so frugal that you are, hoarding everything in the place that, you have to know where everything's going because you're not going to have enough, that fear of not having enough. It's more about just taking control of, what you're spending on, and that's quite obvious. But the reason for that needs to be that you need to create evidence in your life that you are who you say you are. And let me just elaborate on that. Like, just imagine right now, and for your viewers as well, you're saying the words I am, and then there's a ... What are you saying, like, in that? Like, I'm a writer, I am a, whatever it may be. And whatever you're using to fill in that blank. Your finances need to also show and create evidence that you are who you say you are, right? And the only way to then know that is by tracking those expenses.
Yeah.
But on a personal finance level, that also helps you to understand what is the lifestyle that you are creating. And that means that there's certain luxuries in that you are choosing, but then why are you saying yes to that? What is the spin-off of that? So that things aren't random for you. Like, you're equating the things that you're choosing. Like, very simply, like, why do you eat certain foods? So that then comes back to, where are the luxuries within my budget? Do I rather then, because then the spin-off will be, should I be going out 2 or 3 times a month, or should I be eating healthier foods? Because your value proposition, the thing that you've said to yourself is, I'm going to live healthier. That's the I am. I am living healthier this year. But then you need to show up in your finances, and that needs to create the evidence, because when you're applying that discipline, that will lead to the confidence that what you're saying, that you're actually doing that, and you're creating evidence that you are who you say you are. Because if you're not, you're just saying things. You're not tracking that. It's not becoming a truth for you, and then that sits in your mind in the sense like you are constantly, aloof about what you're becoming. Yeah. And when it comes to your budget, it has the power to actually, show you what's important to you when you track it that way. It's not just about tracking your expenses and, what's coming in, what's going out. That's the very obvious thing about budgeting. But I think the reason why most people don't want to do it is because it's just, it feels limiting.
Yeah.
But actually it's a very empowering thing when you look at the bigger picture and how that can help you, track your goals and create opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And, it's been said that money magnifies the person you already are. So if you're inside a generous person, money will make you more generous. Yeah. If you're greedy, money will make you more greedy. Absolutely. If you are, you can fill in the blank, money will make you more of that. So it's like a simple question of, what is the thing you subconsciously think to yourself? When I get money, this is the first thing I'm going to do. It tells a lot about the person that you are, When I get rich, this is the first thing I'm going to do. Yeah. It also shows you kind of like what you kind of idolize and value in life. And I think that maintaining a budget just demonstrative of the type of person that you are. And oftentimes we all have blind spots. Yeah. So it's like, it's like a litmus test, it's putting down, and that's why people spend years studying psychology, because it's like, why do I think this way? Why do I do these things? Because oftentimes we do have blind spots, and we only figure out the type of person we are later on in life.
Precisely.
I even think just the short time since I've left high school, I've learned so much about myself that I never thought I was this type of person when I was in school. Like you figure a lot of things about yourself, and I think one way is how you manage, and the next part is multiply and steward your finances 100%. No, that's really cool. I think just going a little bit personal. What's one subconscious belief you've had about money that has limited you in your lifetime? Is there kind of a subconscious belief that you've had that you've caught yourself thinking? Because there's this book I read about it's called the Millionaire Mind, and he speaks a lot about, and it's quite interesting. I mentioned in a previous video the term cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
You've probably heard of it. So it's that filling in the blank. I am this, and there is an internal angst that you feel when you say, I'm a generous person, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, or I am a kind person, or I am a financially savvy person, and you act in ways that are contrary to that.
Yes, exactly.
You train your brain because your brain associates. It's very interesting if you think about the psychology. Your brain associates. That's how habits are formed. This is from Atomic Habits. Your brain associates an experience or an action with a good or negative response or stimuli. And because your brain will associate that thing either with a good thing, it will continue to build that habit. If it's a bad thing, that's how you break a habit. And it's quite interesting how you can use cognitive dissonance to your benefit. So even if you want to become a financially savvy person, say, I have a millionaire mind, or I have, just saying the words, it doesn't really mean anything, but it's the actions that follow from your beliefs, so I'm taking the stage here, but the point is, what is one of those kind of thoughts that you've had that have limited you? Because we often have subconscious ideas about money, and it ties in with our money personality, that limits us in the way that we steward our finances. Yeah. So what's one thing that's kind of have held you back?
If I would take it back a couple of years back, in comparison to where I find myself now, it would be that people care about me, but in a negative way. Like, in the sense, they care what I drive, they care what I wear, they care where I live, enough that I have to go and create that reality. Because the truth is that people don't actually care. No, and like in my younger self, I made financial decisions to create that persona, unknowingly and knowingly, because it was a little bit of a prideful thing, but in the sense of creating a persona around what I thought people wanted to see of me. But the truth is that when that all came crumbling down at some stage, that I actually learned to realize that people didn't care, because there was a stage of my life where none of that facade, and I call it a facade because that's probably what it was at that stage, I wasn't able to uphold that. I wasn't able to do the things, go to the places, drive the car, do that, go here. And in that moment, I realized I still have the relationships with people, and they don't really care. And the people that did care about that stuff actually fell away, and it opened up my eyes. So it was at that stage probably like a bad thing, really good, but it turned into a very good thing, because in the end of the day, it's a subconscious belief that you need to impress people with what you have, but it actually comes down to who you are, and that really matters most, because people don't really care what you have, they care about how you make them feel. And I think that's been such an incredible lesson for me, because I've just found so much peace in that I don't have to create this life that people need to see what I am and who I'm becoming and what my progress is, because everyone's in their own lane. Everyone's actually just focused on what they're doing. They're not really that focused on you. And once you realize that, truly realize that you're just building your own life, it just removes so much pressure. It removes so much of this expectation of who you think you need to, show, who you are to the world. Rather do that by what you're putting out there, what value exchange you're creating, because that will speak more volume about, and people will give way more comment on that than this material value that you think you're creating.